This is Dr. Gregory Jenkins. We're coming back from our break. We're here at KHTS 661-298-5487, and we're in historic downtown Newhalls if you want to come by. But in the earlier segment, I talked about the O shot, so I'm thinking we should give equal billing.
Absolutely.
Equal time to the P shot, the P shot they call it. So what happens with that is the men come to the office, they're evaluated first to make sure they have testosterone they don't have any testosterone problems, any other health problems, and after that, then they're a candidate for the P shot. And what happens again is the blood is drawn from just like if they were at a doctor's office, and it's processed and then it's injected in different parts of the penis. Now the reviews are that when the men do this, they work perfect and they get some vitality back in the penis. So other doctors in town here that they may be able to do that. So, but I think now we have a caller, and maybe we can go to the caller now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is Dr. Curts and Dr. Jenkins.
Hi, Dr. Curts, Dr. Jenkins. I have a question. I have bled after orgasming, and it doesn't happen all the time. Is that something that's normal, or should I be concerned?
Well, you should be concerned. How old are you?
I'm 50.
Okay, so we don't know if the bleeding is from the uterus or the cervix or the inside the vagina. So you usually
and
have
it's not like a heavy flow. It's just some spotting.
Right. Yeah, that happens sometimes, and you have to find out what it's from. Of course, you could be iron deficient and you bleed easily, but if you have any problems inside the uterus, like cancers and things like that, or infections, you can have bleeding. So, and at 50 years old, it can be a lot of things. So if you do have bleeding, you should eventually, whenever you get your next checkup, your next pap smear, you should mention it to the physician or the provider who's doing it and tell them that you're concerned about it and you want to look at, because you probably need to have the routine pap smear, but also an ultrasound of the uterus and a visual look inside the vagina to make sure there's no irritation in there.
And at this time, aren't the vaginal walls becoming a little bit thinner?
Softer and thinner,
Softer and thinner, so it would be really important to use a lubricant, I think, which is a lot of fun. I think some people, are opposed to using a lubricant, or they don't want to, or they didn't have to before. But sometimes we do, and it's kind of fun to, smear that over each other and just have a good time with it. They're all different kinds of kinds that smell different, that feel different. So you can integrate that into foreplay, which I hope you have a lot of.
Okay, I do.
Good for you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then I will be calling my doctor then.
All right.
And get some lubricant.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
So that was a call we just had regarding vaginal health, basically. But back to the P shot, where we got cut off here for a minute. And you probably can go online and find some evaluation place you can be evaluated for that. And unfortunately, none of the insurances cover it.
Nothing with great sex or anything healthy for us gets covered.
Nothing's covered by insurance. You're right. So and the website looked like it was like a little bit over $1,000 for the injection, and they quote that it lasts 6 to 9 months. So what's that? $150 a month.
Which could be a great date, couldn't it? Instead of going out to dinner somewhere and spending that, you can stay at home. I don't know, but it is a shame that good treatments that make us happy and healthy are so over the top expensive. It's just boo. I'm very upset about that.
That's right, exactly. I think that you have to be aware of how much happiness is and how much money you have, and how much you want to spend and how happy you want to be. And sometimes they don't match up. You can be very happy without money, but if you have a good relationship with someone, life is easier.
Life is much easier. So what is getting in the way of you having a wonderful sex life? Let me know. Is there anybody out there that just, hey, this is getting in the way, or this is bothering me? I so appreciated the last call. That can be getting in the way. So, what is it? This is probably the only show, and maybe even the first one in this area, that we talk very frankly about health, sexuality, relationships. You bring it up, and anything that you want to talk about, we're here to talk with you at 661-298-5487. 5487. So do give us a call and let us know what's getting in your way. And, without any calls, I kind of wonder, is everybody just having a wonderful sex life? I don't think that's true.
I don't think so. I don't think so either, Judith.
And in this area, we've got the Ashley Madison website where people hook up and cheat on their partners, and I can't support that. I can't support cheating or lying. So out here, we're pretty high in that. A lot of people are using it. So that tells me there's some unhappiness out here, and something's getting in the way that could be right, and I don't know. That's just a thought of mine. And so we're offering this. You can see us on YouTube anytime. Watch us with your partner, or listen to us on the website, KHTS website, your hometown station. Listen to it any time, and you might come up with some questions, which you can email at any time, and we'll just say, hey, we got an email from so-and-so, and we'd like to address that. So you can go into the doctor's office without insurance for free, this radio office, anytime you want now. So please do that. We're offering that to you because we have such strong beliefs that you're entitled to good information and the right information.
That's great. I'm speaking also back to the lubricants, is that sometimes certain things, certain chemicals are irritants. So the vagina and penis may be very irritated by the chemicals in the lubricants, and also even in condoms. I've seen patients where they have a great amount of inflammation in the labia and the penis because of some chemicals. So it's sometimes, and there's no way you can find out if you're allergic to it till you try it. But Dr. Judith was correct. You should definitely use some lubrication for certain people.
And let me add to that. I'll do the sex therapy piece to that. I believe, and I've heard that so many women will have intercourse when their partner wants to, when he's ready and she's not. So make sure you're ready. Spend some time, really be together. And women need at least 20 minutes of touching and talking and foreplay before they're ready for intercourse. And another important piece of information is only 30% of women, or a third, can have an orgasm just through intercourse. So if you don't think there's something wrong with you, you're in the majority. So please be aware of that. But having penetration before you're ready that can cause bleeding too. So I would think that you'd have that relationship that you can say, hey, darling, slow down, or I'm not ready yet, or let's do this. This feels so much better to me, and I need more of this. And that's just plain old-fashioned communication, which we've lost. And I think women will be more submissive than they should be. And, men are ready before women are, absolutely. But, calm down. Be with your partner. A sexologist that I went to graduate school with, is named Ian Kerner. He's from New York. And for his dissertation, he wrote it on men pleasing women, and the book was put into 25 different languages, and Ian made a lot of money, and it's called She Comes First. And it's written for men about women. She Comes First. And it was a wonderful book, but he did that as part of his dissertation and just made lots of money. And It's a friend of mine who's got a practice in New York now. So yay Ian, and I'm not selling his book. He probably doesn't need the money, but it's a great book, and it's very truthful and gives you good information and not what somebody told you.
Yeah, I went to school in St. Louis at Washington University, and I remember having lectures from famous sexologists. And when we had the lecture, it was all scientific. It wasn't fun lecture, exciting lecture. The chemistry, the electronics, the electrical system, the muscle control system, and I sat there for hours and go, why are people doing this kind of research? But even over 20 years ago, it was a big subject, and people wanted to know about it. Oh, by the way, it was Masters and Johnson. I didn't say that. It was Masters and Johnson, and they at that time there must have been 65 or 70.
Masters and Johnson really started out with sex therapy being acceptable. It was kind of edgy then. 1970, it was kind of edgy. But then we had Dr. Ruth on TV. Remember Dr. Ruth? Mm-hmm. She was the first sex therapist and sexologist that made it okay to talk about. So I'm deeply grateful to Dr. Ruth. She's in her 80s now, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I know her, and we're qualified under the same board, the American Board of Sexology. She's got a great story in her life, but she is absolutely amazing. And I think we've gone so much further than when Dr. Ruth started. We are allowed to say things and allowed to talk about things that people really don't know and don't think Find out for sure, and find out with your partner what your partner likes, what's getting in the way. And that's that oral sex, talking. You've got to do that. No texting. I hate it. Don't text unless there's some specific quick information like, are you picking up the kids or am I, or something like that. But at least spend 30 minutes a day talking to your partner and being honest, not about when you're going to pick the kids up or who's going to get dinner, but who you are and what you like and where you are now and your dreams and your heart. I think that's super important. And a sex therapist can always help you get those conversations started.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're not talking about ORAL sex. You're talking about AURAL, oral sex. They're like listening.
That's a different.
Yeah.
The talking, yeah, and the listening. I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I am talking about that. It's better to talk and then to always listen.
Well, you're right. It takes a while, but back to Masters and Johnson. They did have a TV show a few years ago about it, but and I watched a couple episodes. I said, I don't think they were like this. I don't think they did these kind of shenanigans at work and things like that.
They weren't.
No.
They weren't. That's to titillate and excite us and have fantasies about what they were like. Actually, Bill Masters, who was a good friend of the dean, where I got my doctorate, he said was a dull guy. Mm-hmm. He was not exciting at all. And Virginia Johnson was actually his secretary. And she was able to work with him and go in and see patients with him. And he never introduced her as his secretary, but she wore the white coat. Like, you wear a white coat, you're an MD, and so people would just assume that she was not a secretary, but she was also a doctor. But she did good work, and she went on and went to school and became a therapist. And Virginia is quite a wonderful woman, but yeah, Bill was really a dull guy. So.
Well, he was a dull lecturer too.
Yeah,
a dull lecturer. And maybe I just wasn't interested in that kind of thing in those days.
Right. But we thought it would be important to kind of tell you some background and where things start. I know when I took classes to get my doctorate in sexology, nothing was exciting or titillating. It was just great information, which you can integrate into your life and make it exciting and titillating. But it was really basic. And my first class, we had a transgender person come into class and talk to us. So Boy, we really got in and learned everything about everything. So, we're here to answer your questions. We've studied hard for it, and we've worked, and we're experienced. So please give us a call or send an email in. That would even be easier. And my understanding is when you send the email that it is not, your email address is not, is that correct? Your email address is not on the web and no one has it, so that's gone. So it's confidential. So please don't worry about that. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to call in and write a question in and see if you get my email address. I bet you don't. Okay.
No, it's all hidden. It's these are like black ops type of thing where you'd put your number in and nobody's ever going to find out where it comes from. But the thing is also on the whole thing about sexology is that it's really more of a science. It's a mixture of science and psychology and counseling techniques. But I only really know about the medical part of it, the chemical part of it.
And I think that's why I get on my high horse or soapbox or whatever when it comes to making sure people are certified, because it is a science. And I studied with the best international people and from years back. So we did get all of the good information. And people who are saying, well, yes, I do sex therapy, well, they're giving you their opinion, and that's nice. You can talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend about that. But you really need to get someone who is trained. And I know there's some good people in California that are trained under the American Board of Sexology and ASEC, which is sex educators. And those are respectable, good boards. The people have worked hard. But to be a sex therapist or call yourself that, you have to be a psychotherapist first, or you don't even get accepted into the program. So I was doing psychotherapy with the basics before I went to school for the sex therapy certification and then on to get my doctorate. So this is, it's just information that you need to have to protect you and to make sure that you get the best help that's out there and the truth. I think you're kind of wasting your time, or you could talk to your neighbors if you just want an opinion, because that's fine. But sometimes opinions, they're like belly buttons. We all have one.
That's great. I was wondering, in your training, how much of it was, and we'll come back to this after the break, but how much of it is science and how much of it is therapy?
It's mostly science and research. It's very little therapy. In fact, in the training, because you go in as a trained therapist, so you already have that. Mm-hmm. So this is the science and the research and the information attached to it. It's the sex therapy is information. Sensate focus was a big thing that Masters and Johnson did, how to do that. But to actually work with the patients and know how to engage them, that comes first. You've got to know how to do that. You've got to be a therapist before you become a sex therapist. And it's a lot based on science and research.
Oh, thank you. That's very much. So I think we're going to go to a break now. So this is Dr. Gregory Jenkins at KHTS 661-298-5487 in historic downtown Newhall. We'll hear.
And we are back with Dr. Jenkins and Dr. Curts. We're here to talk about your health, your sexuality, your relationships. And, we've touched on quite a few things, I think, today. And by the way, if you want to listen or there's always a preempt saying, that young ears, this isn't a show for young ears. So you can hear it later. Just go to the website and listen, or look us up on YouTube in about a week. So one thing we were talking about during the break, just giving information, is premature ejaculation. We're talking about, the menopause and people who are older and suffering with things. But then there's also, I think, with younger men that suffer from premature ejaculation. And there are things that we can do, things we can talk about. And believe me, I've had a huge number of men to come to me and to talk about this. But what's the medical side of premature ejaculation? How can you help?
Well, with PE, what happens is that anytime there's some arousal, it can't be stopped. So once you're becoming aroused, it just already goes all the way to orgasm. So you're having foreplay, and the next thing you know, you ejaculate. You can't stop it. And so they go, well, how did this happen? So there's not many lab studies that help us with that. So it's more of a counseling thing or a technique. But there are some medicine that can prevent that, because what it does is slows down the motor neurons or the nerves. And those medicines, it's kind of like on the highway when the CHP does a traffic stop, they swerve back and forth and slows the traffic down instead of the other side just going down the freeway really fast. So what happens now is that the nerve conduction is slowed down so that you can continue with your foreplay and have intercourse and ejaculate at the correct time. And now, as far as the therapy goes for that, Judith?
There are many different methods. You can use a numbing cream sometimes. That's just personal taste. Or you can do a stop-start method, but you have to know when you feel like, oh boy, I'm ready, you're getting close, like you're on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 or 6 or 7, then you stop. And then you just kind of kick back and, talk about the Dodgers, whatever, and then start again to get yourself the stop-start method. And you can get your partner to help with that, too. And there's also the squeeze technique, which where the base of the penis is squeezed. However, that doesn't seem to go as well. You can have your partner with that, but that doesn't seem to work as well as the stop-start method.
Oh, that's good. You were talking about the numbing cream, and I forgot about that. But that's another thing that slows down the nerve, so that doesn't really feel anything, so you don't become hyper aroused. Yeah, in my training, I ever heard about was the squeeze technique.
Right. And
it depends on how well adept your partner is to squeeze it. There's just the right amount, or it may not work.
Or it may not work, and I think the stop-start method is probably a little bit better. But okay, here's the question, and I'm sure you're all thinking this. What is premature ejaculation? When do you consider premature ejaculation? Is it after 10 minutes of intercourse? No. Is it before 1 minute? And generally, it's before 1 minute.
That's right. Yes, it's very quick. Very quick. And most of the time, men ejaculate on the outside, not even really into the vagina, because it happens so fast.
And then they're embarrassed, and their partners, boy, it must be me, and everybody starts the blame stuff. But it's really not about that. So being close to your partner, and guess what? We all can't get there every time. And so we have to kind of laugh about it and say, hey, it'll be better next time. Let's talk about what just happened. Or, instead of being embarrassed and feeling like a failure or feeling shame, it's not that way at all. And people do experience that. I will bet you every man out there has had an experience of premature ejaculation. So, whether it's when you're very young or whenever. But, we can talk about these things, and we can help you with any guilt, shame, something you're carrying inside, which you absolutely should not have to do that. So we're here to help you, and we want to look for those emails. Definitely look for those emails, and then get some calls. Call us. We're not scary at all. We're actually friendly, wonderful people here. So give us a call. We're enthused about the subject, and we're enthused about you and sharing. So
Well, before we time out here, there are some constriction devices that men put around the testicle, around the base of the penis, which helps slow down the nerve impulse. So that's another thing that people can try that are suffering from this. But it's sometimes it's a marriage breaker and a couples problem. And after a while, some people get tired of doing, sometimes people want to make it work so bad that they can't make it work because there's just fear.
But the magic is satisfy the woman first. It's not that big a deal. So remember that book, She Comes First. It's a really nice book and is written in 25 languages, so whatever language you speak, you might be able to read that and educate yourself. It's a fun book, but knowing that it was written on my friend's dissertation, usually dissertations are pretty boring, but his was hot. I mean, he did so well and became quite famous, so I'm really, really pleased. Ian Kerner. And Ian, if you're out there, come and be on our show. He's in New York. He's probably in the Bahamas or something.
But it's been fun today, so I want all of you to give us a call next week, KHTS 661-298-5487, and have a good day. Thank you.
Your hometown station.